Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Hawaiiverse podcast, a podcast that supports local by having Cho kids to increase your chances of having one of them become famous or a professional athlete. I'm your host, Kamaka Diaz, and I'm trying to have some professional athletes to pay my bills in the future. Before we introduce our guest, I have some big news. Today, as you're listening to this on December 1st, 2022, we just launched our Hawaiiverse app. It's free and easy to use. You can find hundreds of local coupons to local businesses and products so you can help support local. So head over to our website or Instagram right now and download it for free. Yeah, we're also in a new place, so if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, let us know what you think of our new setup and our new mics. Hopefully they're awesome. Okay, let's introduce our guest. Our guest is a surf legend from the island of Oʻahu. This husband and father of 8 and grandfather of 1 is a 2010 ASP professional longboard world champion and founder of Nakamakai, a nonprofit organization that educates Hawaii's children about how to enjoy the ocean safely while becoming stewards for this rich cultural resource that surrounds the island, which we call home. He was inducted into the Hawaiʻi Waterman Hall of Fame in 2015. Today, you can find him on the big screen playing the iconic Duke Kahanamoku in the new Waterman movie. He is the living legend, Duane DeSoto. Aloha, Duane. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Mahalo, Kamaka. I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I'm really excited to talk stories with you. I feel like I really am sitting in front of a legend. I mean, a lot of people look up to you, especially on the West Side and like in the surf world. I think what you have done and accomplished in your life is very awesome, and I love that, you know, I get to, with what I'm doing with podcasts and everything, I get to sit, you know, with you and just talk stories. So mahalo for coming.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. So before we get into everything, I gotta start at the beginning. Where are you from? Where you grad? And what was it like growing up?
I'm from Makaha Beach. I currently live in Kea'au, which is right next door to Makaha.
I didn't know there was a Kea'au on Oʻahu.
Yeah, you know Kea'au Beach Park.
Oh,
you know
okay.
that?
Yeah, well, I know Kea'au on the Big Island.
Yeah, it's actually its own ahupua'a as well.
Oh, wow.
Right after Makaha Beach is Kea'au.
Okay, awesome.
And it gets kind of bunched into Makaha.
Mm-hmm.
Most people call it Makaha now.
Okay, right on.
And yeah, I grew up out there. All through 6th grade, went to Makaha Elementary. And then 7th, 8th grade, I went to St. Elizabeth in Aiea, catching the bus. And then 9th grade, we moved to town, and I went to St. Louis after that.
He was in St. Louis, boy.
Yeah.
Did you do any sports while you were at St.
I
Louis?
did track and football for my freshman, sophomore year, but my surfing really kicked off my sophomore year, and I was, you know, talked to my dad and my mom about just focusing on surfing.
So did you end up graduating?
Yeah, 95.
Oh, okay.
They let me travel. They were really good about my traveling.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah. They were actually like super stoked for me and never even posed like an issue on my travel schedule.
Wow. You had people doing your homework for you too?
I wasn't that guy.
Nice.
So, yeah. No, I actually enjoyed school. I like school. So like I actually wanted to learn more. Mm-hmm. I think that was a blessing in itself, not hating it.
Yeah, well, through your travels, you got to learn a lot about yourself, other cultures, the world. I think that's just as important as learning things inside the classroom.
100%. You know, and in all the years traveling on tour or for photo shoots or even just taking my family around places, and now actually following my daughter around, I've been to at least 35 or 36 different countries. Wow. And in itself is an experience, an education, an insight to just so many different types of lifestyles, and seeing similarities with home, seeing differences with home, seeing places how Hawaii could be better, and then seeing how Hawaii is super lucky and amazing to be what it is compared to other places. You just see it all, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you start getting into surfing? Did you just grow up surfing like from the day you were born?
Well, my mom taught me how to swim. She says by the time I was 9 months old, I was swimming proficiently. as a baby.
They just drop you in the water.
She had me in the pool and stuff like that, and I was good at it, I guess. And like before I could walk, kind.
Wow.
And then boogie board on the wrist. You know, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, going through that, and then my dad and my uncles, they all got me into surfing. And I know my first contest was at 4 years old. In the Rail Sun and the Hawaiʻi Waterman back in the day. So pretty small guy, but you know, started quite early in the competition scene.
Yeah. And how did you do it early in the days? Were you always winning the competition?
No, I was pretty decent. I was good. But my cousin Sito, 1 year older than me, I could never beat him in the surfing contest. I would win the bodyboard contest at anti-rails and took a few firsts there, but yeah, I never claimed the first place at a Rail Sun or a Hawaiʻi Waterman. Always a second or worse.
Yeah. And was it always on a long? Did you always longboard?
Oh no, shortboard.
Shortboard, and then you went into longboarding?
We rode everything at a young age.
Anything that floated.
A lot of times our shortboard was, you know, somebody else's shortboard, which was big. And then eventually my mom then got me my own little shortboard, bought it off my cousin Jambu. And I had my first, like, you know, kid size board. Yeah. Which isn't as small as today's kid size boards, but still I had my purple jam going on.
So what was the lifestyle over there when you were growing up? Just beach every single day?
Pretty much, you know. I remember in kindergarten, my Auntie McGee would come and pick me up. And Uncle Bruce and Auntie McGee had Desiree and my cousin Sito. So I was like the third wheel. And we would jump on my Uncle Bruce's bus. He would be not in service when he's coming through Makaha. We'd catch it back to Halawa. We'd jump off right before the depot in Halawa, and then he'd come out with the station wagon. We'd zip home, grab the boards, and surf till dark every day. Like,
and at Makaha? At
Makaha.
That was the home break?
That was the routine, you know. And like, never had the rock wall at Makaha, so Uncle would pull his station wagon right up to the grass edge behind the reef, turn on his lights. But it was funny because he would tell me, you know, I was super skinny. Like Auntie Rail would call me bamboo boy. I was so skinny. And I'd be freezing. I'm like, Uncle Bruce, can I go in? And he's like, you gotta catch 10 more and then you can go in. I'm like, purple lips already, huh? So I'd be the last one in the water, and I swear, till today, I think my cousin then was lying about them catching their 10 waves.
It's like when you're doing sports and you gotta do push-ups or whatever. You're just like, 1, 2, 8, 9.
I think they wasn't being honest about their waves, but I was always the last one. Like,
he's just an honest guy.
Yeah, but obviously paid off.
Yeah. So just from an early age, you were just always at the beach. So is that where your connection to the ocean comes from?
Yeah, between my mom, my dad, my family. That, and the biggest thing I see as I reflect back on that was the privilege. That was my privilege. You know, if anything in life, I understand that some people don't have that privilege. It's pretty crazy.
If you live in Kansas.
If you live on this island, you don't have that privilege.
There's a lot of people that live here that don't even go to the beach.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just free amusement park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, through our work with Nakamakai, I think about 30% of the kids know how to swim.
They don't know how to swim.
They do.
So 70% don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty guaranteed 40. Wow. Probably about 30% do. Like swim, right? Not wading in the water in the waves.
Like swim proficiently.
Swim, 50 yards without stopping or something.
That's crazy. I didn't really meet too many people that didn't know how to swim until I got a little older. Like I would leave outside of Hawaii. But to meet people here that grew up here that don't know how to swim, that's mind-blowing.
Adults. And that transcends into adulthood, right? So it's the same generational thing. Same for the adults,
Yeah, I mean, like I never grew up surfing, but I mean, of course we went to the ocean, went to pools, so we know how to swim.
Exposure,
Yeah, so
There's a lot of fear-driven mindsets. That's why around that. So
specifically here, you think, or just
I've heard them.
Just because they don't want their kids to drown, or like it's more being in the
some
ocean
is
like sharks.
Some is they've had trauma, so they just teach their kids fear. Some is kind of like a laziness. They're at the beach, but they're ready to drink a beer, so they're like the kids begging, and I hear them begging, and this excuse, that's the excuse, and then the third excuse is no, get sharks, and then the kids stop stalking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
Oh,
it's play in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, I'll grab the water hose, I'll shoot you down.
But they're not, they're not going to watch them in the water either. So they're not being irresponsible either, right? Yeah. They're not saying just go without me.
Yeah.
So there's that balancing act,
Yeah. Well, you are really blessed to be able to grow up on that side and with that culture, which is very Hawaiian compared to a lot of other places on the island. It's very rooted to the, cultural traditions and like, just people there. I feel like even though there's a stigmas of like the west side, right, where you're a little bit afraid to go over there, but it's also filled with so much aloha, and the people there have such rich history, like their families, your family, Kuleana, like I'm sure you could just keep naming all the definitely. Legendary families, right?
Yeah, and it's a community. It's a proud community,
Yeah, and it's hard to find that these days.
Yeah, Makaha is I think even in general, Makaha is a one of a kind in general, even in this entire 8 islands.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Part of that whole stigma is, trying to limit people from coming out there back in the day, because basically, if you came there with a good attitude, you didn't get into that problems. But if you came there with a bad attitude, somebody was waiting for you, So if you gave good energy, that's what aloha is, right? If you gave good energy, you got good energy.
Yeah.
If you came with bad energy, somebody was ready to take their frustrations out on that person. But, it was also, for me, that was what kept it safe. Because we had a lot of dumb adults come over there and take advantage of how they treat women, how they treat children. And the uncles always made sure that we felt safe, that the women felt safe to serve too. So kind of the product of just making sure that we were basically being guardians of our own space, So it's changed a lot since people want to grumble with you, and then you get into an argument with them, and then they think that the grumbling is the argument, but the grumbling for most people on the west side is then it's going to go into a fight. And then they call 911 with their cell phones. And so it's like this just shift where, why did you argue with the local then? And
you probably did something to trigger that.
It didn't just happen.
Yeah.
And instead of humbling yourself and apologizing or just taking a higher road on maybe I didn't do something right, no. Why, this is, I pay my taxes, I'm an American, and this whole blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then obviously you totally don't understand. Oh, but I lived here for 15 years.
Yeah, I got my Hawaiian rewards card.
But you never learned this. How come you never learned this,
Yeah.
And it's not about color. It's not about race. It's about how you treat people. And that you stick out like a sore thumb sometimes if you just come in there with a bad attitude and entitlement.
Yeah, that's a real problem that I see all over the place. And I hear once in a while how people, when they come here, they're like a little afraid of being a haole or coming in here because they hear like locals aren't as nice to haoles sometimes. But usually, like you said, as long as you're respectful, you're aware of what you're doing and others, it should be fine, because at the end of the day, we aren't looking for a fight.
No.
A lot of the times when you see something happening, it's a response. It's not, we didn't instigate anything. I mean, there are times, maybe there's just people that, they just want to cause trouble. You have that everywhere.
Everywhere in the world.
Yeah. But a lot of the times when you see a local getting into it with somebody that's not from here. It's because they did something, whether they know it or not, or they did it purposefully or not, they still caused a reaction from us.
Yeah.
So I think people have to check themselves. Like you said, humble themselves. Yeah.
I think one of the things too that a lot of people don't understand about themselves is, why do they feel uncomfortable here?
Mm-hmm.
Why do, they're like, oh, I'm Hawai'i, they all hate me. Well, it's not true. I think a lot of times what they're not able to put their thumb on is that they are not the alpha race.
Mm.
When you come to Hawaii, you actually are equal or less than the other cultures that are here.
Yeah.
So you don't have a power over the other cultures like you do where you're from, maybe,
Yeah, you don't get special treatment.
That feeling is uncomfortable for a lot of people. That feeling is undesirable feeling, but they can't really figure out what they're feeling and why.
That's such an interesting
So they carry that around with them and they think everybody hates them, but it's not true,
Yeah.
And then I meet a lot of Haoles who are like, hey, I love Hawaii so much. I love the people so much. I'm for the Hawaiians prospering. I go in a different mindset. Like, oh, that's really cool. They care about the people that are of here, that have ancestry,
Yeah.
It's a different respect.
Yeah.
30 years I live here and I don't act like that. Trust me,
Yeah. I mean, you can tell the people who come at it with a cultural lens, or even the people that have lived here for 30 years, but they are living like the locals, right? They're not trying to do anything. They're not trying to be better than anyone else. Like, oh, I've lived here for 20 years. I know, like, those are the worst people. It's like, oh yeah, I've been living in Kapolei for 2 years. Like, oh yeah, Poi, yeah, I know Poi. Oh yeah, like the beach, oh yeah. And Kamakana Li'i, yeah, I go there all the time.
I just had it the
I'm
other
local.
day.
Yeah.
There's a turtle sleeping on the beach, and this lady brought down these two big yellow labs, and like, oh, right down there's a sleeping turtle. Just be careful. It's like, oh, there's usually 3. I'm a local, and I was like, oh, I mean, that's cool. You own your house over here. You're local. Awesome. You should be stoked that I'm advising somebody with 2 dogs to be careful of the turtles in your home, versus taking it like I'm telling you what to do. And
yeah.
we all stood there and we're like, oh, but.
What's your name? Karen, by any chance?
No, yeah. I am truly amazed by that mindset sometimes, and I ask people, why are you here? Like, why would you come to this amazing place and bring all your kukai with you? Why would you not want to leave all that stuff that you obviously didn't want because you left? You came here. Why don't you just embrace this place, our lifestyle, our ways, because you obviously wanted to be here.
Yeah.
Don't try and change it.
That's the biggest thing, is people leave where they are because they don't like over there, but they bring here their mindset, their agenda, and they get mad for us not doing what they want us to do,
instead of what they think is right.
Yeah, instead of just accepting like, oh, this is a life now and I have to conform to you instead of you conforming to me.
Missing the point.
Yeah.
There's other places with beautiful sunsets and beautiful beaches, and why did you really come?
Yeah. It sucks when that happens. And it is like a power dynamic too. Yeah. Where it's just like
money. It becomes money, ego.
Yeah.
I bought my house.
Yeah.
I'm from this place now.
Yeah.
Okay, you are. What's your Kuleana then?
Yeah. What are you bringing here?
Oh, I pay my taxes.
Yeah.
That's not Kuleana.
Yeah.
That's different, Yeah. That's what the state asks for. That's what the feds ask for. What is your Kuleana?
Yeah. I think everybody, this is just some advice for anybody who will end up moving here, is like, bring something of value. Don't just take, because too long, that's what people have done, is take, and they don't give.
Captain Cook was the first. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
And it just wore everybody out.
Yeah, and that's why we have this bad taste in our mouth, because there's generational trauma, real life things that happen with our population getting like almost destroyed. Not even just like with the language, but like, little people bringing diseases here.
Physically,
Yeah, like killing off half of our population, and then, the overthrow, and then,
And then that trauma is generationally passed down and passed down and passed down. And people are wanna say crazy things like it's drugs, it's alcohol, but those are all symptoms of the trauma.
Yeah.
Those are all symptoms of how did all these Hawaiians end up in Waianae? How did all the homesteads get put down a 2-lane road that took back then maybe 3 hours to drive to Honolulu? How did the area get destined with the rubbish dump, with the power plant, all the industrial waste?
Yeah.
How did we get all that down there? And that's where you put all the Hawaiians. I mean, let's take the veil off and start talking about how that was racism, and that was actually hoping that people would not survive, hoping they would not succeed by doing that to them, And it had a reverse effect because it also culminated everybody together.
Brought people together,
Brought people together.
Yeah.
And now they're looking at it like, oh, that's the last frontier. The leased homes, beautiful beaches, good weather. So we just got to tame it,
Yeah.
We got to hold it down.
Yeah.
But we're watching our family move to Nevada, move to Arizona, move to Utah. We're watching them trying to run away from high costs and low incomes. And that is just a tragedy that we would continue to put our people in that position here.
Yeah. It's kind of sad though, because when you're growing up as a kid, you don't realize all these things, right? You're just, I get to go to the beach, hang out with my friends. Auntie's uncle, uncle, he's just acting crazy. That's just how he does. He says some things, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you start to see the real life issues, the struggles, where it's just like, dang, they're fighting to pay their mortgage. They're trying to keep their house. They're, you have family members addicted to drugs, stuff like that. And then you realize like, okay, like this is real Hawaii sometimes, right? It's not just like beautiful beaches and,
Well, I remember in 3rd grade in, jobs day or whatever, what do you want to do for your career? And I remember one of the girls in my class saying, I'm going to go on welfare like my mom and have kids. And I was floored,
As a 3rd grader.
As a 3rd grader. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I see it. I get it. That's just what we've got a lot of trauma going on, and it's like blows my mind that till today, there's people who actually don't dream of buying their own house sometimes. And I think that, there's so much going on, but if we want to reclaim, that's one of the simplest ways is to buy it back while we're in the system that exists around us today. Is to get that peace and strive for that. And if we are conscious as a community, we're going to better help our local people get their houses. Our Hawaiians need to have their houses and their lands. Like the number one thing hurting Hawaiians is when the neighbors sell their house and that house is valued at a certain thing, or they tear it down and build a mansion, your taxes go up too. So like in California, you buy your house in 1940, you pay the same tax until you sell it. But in Hawaii, if your taxes of your neighbors goes up, yours goes up. So you could be on a fixed income. You can't even afford your taxes eventually.
Even if you're in different tax brackets?
Even if you're in different tax brackets, because you're, like say you're on a North Shore, on the water at Pipe.
Yeah. But
this neighbor built one mansion, this neighbor built one mansion, their houses are valued at now $8 million and $5 million. Well, your house is now valued here, and you're going to pay the taxes on that value versus the value you bought your home. And so what that does in the real estate industry is it keeps the cycle, the movement, right? People aren't going to sell, or people are going to get evicted.
Because they can't afford, and then somebody with money will take over that.
The taxes is enough to encourage that, because some people can't.
Yeah. It should be the opposite, where we disincentivize people with taxes so they don't buy places here.
It's a nuts scenario. Well, we have a limited commodity, so actually we're disproportionate. We have more millionaires here than I think any other state per capita. We're probably number one.
I wonder what's the percentage of people that actually live here throughout the year?
That too. Second, third, fourth, fifth homes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
hard.
Guaranteed, just like they come here just a couple months throughout the year, and yeah, even a lot of people living in these, like the huge, nice condos near Aloha.
$20 million condos.
Yeah, those are probably just vacation homes.
Yeah, a lot of them everywhere.
Yeah.
Private jets.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so I want to dive into these issues a little bit later in the podcast, but I want to talk about the like surfing and like the ocean life, and then go into talking about the Waterman movie that you starred in, which I still haven't been able to see. I just keep seeing clips all over the place. I've had friends that have seen it. They love it. They're like, hey, you gotta watch it. I kept missing all the premieres, but I want to know, before we get into that, like, what is your favorite thing about being in or around the ocean?
It's got to be the fact that everything turns off around me when I do go in the water, especially when I go underwater. Absolutely, I'm not thinking about anything else but being present. Mm-hmm. And as a kid, that was my total escape, was surfing. Homework, chores, parents, whatever. It was like, that was my pu'uhonua. That was my safe space. And as I got older, it became a job a little bit, but like when I would body surf, that was never my job, which is one of my favorite things to do. Just get in there and swim underwater and I'm just like in my own world, like almost like a cartoon or something. I transform into a cartoon. Mm-hmm. And that's the best part about the ocean, and then it obviously has so much more to that, right? It's physical, it's the salt water on my skin and my body and so many other things, but just being able to break away from the chaos. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. I was picturing a whole little montage in my head of just like a movie scene where you just like go underwater. It's so peaceful, slow motion. You hear nothing but just the... Yeah, I love that. It's such a beautiful escape. Yeah. Okay, and what do you think is the number one lesson surfing has taught you?
Oh, I would guarantee that surfing is most impactful on me about failures and success. While, surfing itself was always just like a pleasure and a joy, and getting big waves, getting barreled, talking adrenaline and all that. Mm-hmm. But then when I was in competition for so long, that you lose way more than you win. Mm-hmm. And so through that, being coached through the mindset by my dad about being a champion, about being a winner, was part of it. But to obtain those wins, I had to bottom out so many more times and recover from that bottom out. Not let my losses determine who I am or how I feel in the end. It's like I had to keep persevering for that goal. Mm-hmm. And one of the classic examples is winning the world title in 2010. I did my first world title in 1993. That was my 18th try.
Hey, they say the 18th time's the charm. I'm pretty sure they say that. Yeah.
So persistence, and it makes me reflect on all the amazing surfers that I grew up with, who after a few years, just the judging pissed them off, or they couldn't get the sponsors to keep traveling, and realizing, wow, yeah, I was very blessed to continue to be on tour and be a part of it. And, talent, we had a lot of talent, so that wasn't the factor, but I was able to keep trying and keep going and keep learning, bottom out and recover, recover,
That's what it's all about, just getting back on top of the board every single time you fail. Yeah, I'm not just talking about surfing, right?
Resilience.
Anything in life, yeah. Resilience.
Anything in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, because now I surf now in my adulthood, and it's like, I swear everything's just like a life lesson. And every time you fall, every time you're you catch a big wave, you fall, you're inside the whitewash, or you're just like on the inside waiting for the big sets to just calm down so you can finally go out, trying to catch your breath and like, okay, do I want to go back out and catch one more wave? I'm super tired, or should I just end it on a bad note? You know, it's like, okay, maybe I gotta catch one more. I can't just go out like that, you know? It's like all these little life lessons that just compound. It's so crazy.
And you know what popped in my head as you say the life lessons is the smallest days, the most unforeseeable moments that should never have had this life-threatening moment, and it happens on the smallest unpredictable day.
Yeah.
And it's like my mind is kind of set in that mode about the ocean. Could be flat, could be calm, could look like the most safest day ever, but it's actually not. The ocean is a mysterious element, you know. It's like it'll kick your butt when it's half a foot high.
Yeah, no, it's so weird. One because it's kind of, there's not a lot of water, so maybe you touch the reef a little bit more. But for like where I go in town, but also I swear it's the funkiest, smallest days when I lose my board the most. Not like when it's big, because I guess when it's bigger I'm more cautious. Like, yeah, I gotta like grab my board before, I gotta like get off the wave before it closes out. But when it's small, it's like, I guess maybe I'm not thinking, like I'm not like on my toes as much, like preparing for it.
And then it demands your respect.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, gotta.
I almost drowned on a half-foot day one time in Eba.
Really?
Training for California, I wanted to go out when it was windy and small. And I knocked the wind out of me, and my board went without my leash. And there's nobody on the beach, nobody in the water. I had to hold my breath and swim to my board. Oh. Climb on my board. Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And so I finally got to my board. I held my breath through all of that to get my board and climbed on. And for 5 minutes, just like recovered from that. I was lucky.
That's crazy. What was your gnarliest wipeout?
My gnarliest wipeout was about 19 years old at Makaha. Yeah, it was like a 12-foot day, and all of a sudden it started rising out of nowhere, and I went up and didn't make it. Went over the falls, and then I got a 2-wave hold down after that. And that one, I must have traveled underwater, I think like 150 yards. Where I was outside, I came up inside with like the little white waters.
That's crazy.
And had to get rescued. I called for help. I could have swam in, I could call for help, and I was like, I'm gonna call for help. I was pretty winded. Yeah. And but I've had quite a few, you know, like Tehupo'o, had a good over the falls on. I had to ride a 9.3. All my good boards were broken already, and the swell had bumped up. I took my bigger nose rider out.
You took a nose rider out?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It was like a single fin?
It was a thruster, but it was fat and wide, and I overgrabbed the rail and spun out and
wow.
And pipe and hitting twice my rails hit me at backdoor, which I sing all the stars and just like make it up to the sand and then drop on the sand, you know? Like somehow fighting the actual knockout kind of thing.
Yeah, just super dazed. Yeah. Dang, that's crazy.
Lucky, super lucky.
Yeah, but it shows you the grit you have, you know, the determination to survive. Right?
Must be something.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a huge family. You have 8 kids, yeah? Like, I don't know, what is more challenging, raising 8 kids or winning a surf competition?
Yeah, raising my family is definitely more challenging. In the sense, like, giving them each that equal attention and that equal opportunity in life, and nurturing each one the way they need to be nurtured. You know, I thought by the 3rd one I'd have a handbook. It was not the case. I got 8 handbooks instead. You know, I thought I would have a map, no map.
Yeah.
But just having the 8 children made me have to evolve. You know, if I didn't have them and my wife, then I would not have grown as much as I've grown, having been surrounded by that. Just realizing, I have to be on an infinite path of growth.
In what way do you think you've grown the most?
I think, you know, at first, surfing is a me, you know, pretty self-centered. A boy in his teens, in his early 20s, me is pretty normal.
Yeah.
You know, that changed pretty quick once I had a family, and just understanding that even like now, how I can be me as much as I think I'm being like for everybody. Yeah. You know, and just having to check myself and be honest, you know, like, that was pretty selfish. And it's hard because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be doing bad things, you know, but it doesn't mean I can completely control it all. So I hope to be better for my kids every year. I really do. And my older children are like, wow, like, you guys, how come they get this? How come they get that? And I'm like, well, son, or my older daughter, like, you know, we were younger parents. We definitely have grown. We've definitely learned a lot. We're applying what we learned. Would you prefer we don't apply what we learned to your younger siblings? Yeah. You know, and now I have a grandson, and I get to, you know, give all of that to my grandson. So my son is definitely even more appreciative of that, right? Yeah. Just knowing that his son will get the best of us too.
Yeah. I think as you get older, you become more empathetic towards your parents. As like, now I'm 29. My parents were younger than me when they had kids. I don't even have kids. If I had a kid right now, I don't know what I'd do. What you know? Like, it's all just like a learning process.
How did they pay all the bills?
Exactly. I'm just like, I barely make enough money for myself.
How did they put food on the table like that every day? And they had to jump jobs. You know?
It's crazy once you get to the point in your life when you realize that and you appreciate your parents so much.
Big flip. Yeah.
But even as like, I'm an older sibling, my 2 youngest siblings, I'm about like 7 or 9 years different than them. They're younger than me. And, you know, same thing. We'd tell our parents, oh, how come they get this? How come they don't got to do the chores like us? How come they don't got to, you know, mow the lawn, whatever it is, you know? Yeah. It's just different times, you know? Different. Yeah. So it's hard to kind of accept that, especially when you, like, if you struggled, you would hope that they also struggled like you so that they learn the same, but everybody's different.
Everybody's different, but we've applied that. Yeah. To where we make sure the younger ones have Kuleana. Yeah. They have to respect their older siblings, to try and make sure that we minimize that, where they don't get the responsibilities, and then when they're older, they don't know why they don't know what they don't know. It's like, no, we want to have you do the trash. You might be 4 years old, but you can throw the trash in the bathroom away. You can have a Kuleana, you know, and that way we're not stuck when they're 14 and all the kids are gone and this one, no, I do nothing. Yeah. No, you know you have Kuleana to this place.
That's good, yeah.
Whether they do it or not every day or listen every day, but the mantra's there. You know, the reminder's there. Maybe that'll kick in when they're adults, who knows?
Yeah, that's what is the household like in the DeSoto family?
Pretty chaotic. Yeah. It's nuts, loud. My daughter went to college, and first thing she was like, "It's too quiet." Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
There's no screaming. Why is there no screaming?
Chaos. I don't know. Somebody bothering me. I want to yell at somebody.
That sounds like my sister Lay. She wants to yell at somebody. That's all. Kamaka. It's classic. I have 5 siblings, so I grew up in a big household too. So it's always chaotic. Everybody's just yelling at each other. But then you get over it real quick, and you're like, okay, what do you want for dinner? Yeah, you want me to get you this from the refrigerator? Sure. Yeah. That's how it is. Did you always want a big family?
Yeah. 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 When I met my wife, we both were online with that. Yeah. We both were online with raising our family culturally connected, super deep. We're both in line of having a lot of children. we both were in line with never leaving Hawaii, no matter what our financial situation was.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we were broke, we weren't leaving. We made these decisions really early. It was
Okay.
kind of cool that we felt the same way.
Yeah, and you stuck with it.
We stuck with it. You know, I told my realtor friend one time, I said, "Wow, this is the difference between," you know, I say them. Anybody can be them, okay? Them and people who are from here, born here, or whatever, you know, from here. I'm not going to leave under the harsh circumstances. I don't have another place. My wife doesn't have another place that they want to go or would go. It's here, thick or thin. Where a lot of other people who come and buy and are here and they're like, no, we love this place, we're committed. Well, you know, when things get rough, that's when you really know what you're going to do. You know, and a lot of people will change their mind and leave. They will. And it's like, to me, that factor is not a factor in most people's mindsets of what is important as a person here. Because if you're willing to get up and go, then you're just here to take. But if you're going to stay through thick and thin, then you are here to give back. You are here to be a part of making this place what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the community.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, right before we get into Instagram questions, I want to talk about the Waterman movie because I have some questions about that from Instagram. Were you nervous to play Duke?
I don't know if it was nervous. It wasn't nervous. It was conscious. You know, I actually said I don't want to do it. I didn't feel, and I have my personal reasons for that. And I thought, you know, try to find somebody else, you know, like, and, you know, if you cannot, then come back and we can discuss this. But I really felt that give that opportunity to somebody else, you know. I looked at it purely as a Kuleana in the end, you know, like, okay, super stoked to do it, super accountable to Duke, accountable to all my ohana at Makaha, you know, the people who raised me on the beach. And so like every moment of playing Duke to me was in the presence of Duke, you know, or in the presence of like my Auntie Rel or Auntie Pua or in my own kupuna, you know, like I really held myself to a standard of how I would think and feel and be present in Duke's presence, you know. I wanted, I don't know if that's like method acting or whatever that is, but I definitely wanted to make sure that if I had to have a conversation with Duke, you know, later in the afterlife, is like, hey, what, were you stoked? Like, were you proud of that? You know, I would want him to be proud of that. I would want him to be like, you nailed it. You know?
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the trailers and other clips, and I think you're a perfect fit for that.
Thanks.
Yeah, when I saw, I mean, I didn't even know you at that time when I first saw it. I was like, oh, this guy is, oh, that was like good casting.
I had chicken skin moments, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this one wave I caught. To me, it's one of my top 5 waves of my life.
During the filming?
During the filming.
Wow.
And it was only a wave about this big, you know, waist high. But it was from real deep, and it was a small swell that came all the way across the middle. And they got a drone shot of it. It was super lucky.
Is that the one that's in the trailer where you're on the nose and you're kind of leaning back?
No,
Oh,
I can show you after.
Okay,
Actually, I have that wave. But it's like I'm going and I'm just in the pocket. I'm just in the spot, the whole wave. And at the end, it just lands on the sand and I go all the way up the sandbank on the board. And as I step off, I get in chicken skin all the way from my body. As I step off, I just feel like a presence. It was like either Duke is by me or another kupuna who surf Makaha is right here, right now, as I pick up the board. Like I was like, ooh, you know, you get that
That's super.
rush that something is not normal. Well, my skin's crawling.
Yeah.
Just talking about
that's
it.
so cool.
And I was like, oh, and then later, and so, I don't know. I didn't know the drone got it. This was kind of before they were ready.
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying out the board, but the drone got it. The other cameras didn't, but it was a sick wave. Like,
That's all. That is a chicken skin moment. I had somebody else on the podcast, a filmmaker. He worked on the George Hell movie, Hawaiian Soul.
Yeah.
And he was saying that there's this one scene in the church where he had to like sing, or at the end he ends up singing, and the guy starts singing like the George Helm song, and everybody in the church, they just like saw him like transform into George, and like they were like, he looks just like him too. Yeah. I don't know if you ever seen that.
I've seen it.
Yeah. And he said that moment, like everyone just started like crying, because these are people who actually knew George.
I sailed with Aina.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Awesome. He was one of the directors or producers of the movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those moments, so like that George Howe moment, the Duke Kahanamoku moment with you surfing, so powerful, right? It's
Energy.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah. And that's where you kind of feel like our kupuna are in the background.
Yeah.
Just like, wow.
They're with us.
Yes.
So,
More.
Yeah. And for those who, for the off chance, might not know who Duke Kahanamoku is, go just Google them. Just Google the first Hawaiian Olympian that shattered records. Five-time gold Olympic medalist. Yeah. So let's get into Instagram questions, okay?
Okay.
This comes from Kush22. He wants to know, what character traits do you feel like you and Duke share?
Oh, wow. I mean, I surf and I swim. I don't think I would ever, I can't compare myself to Duke, to be honest. We don't, to me, like, I have my own way of doing things like that I got, but what he did was unduplicated and original, just no matter how you look at it. You know, he the way he lived his life, the things he did in his life, he didn't have to say a word, and the respect was there. Everybody saw the amazingness in him, you know, and the beautiful person he was, the amazing athlete he was. All of that came out without him having to be, you know, verbal about it, so to say. Yeah,
like you see some athletes, they do something, they score a touchdown, they make a 3-pointer, they just do the celebration. Duke was just like,
so I don't know. I don't compare myself to him. I wouldn't.
Let me change it up a little bit. What is one character trait that you look up to, that you you know, it's like you look at Duke and you wish like you had that, or like you strive to have that, to be like?
It would be around his grace, which is also part of his humble. You know, to be in the world in that era as a brown man, not everybody would have respected him the way his friends did. But yet he gracefully still went everywhere. He didn't limit himself because of what might happen. He still went everywhere. And that's like a true champion. That's somebody who doesn't let anybody set their standards for them. And he paved the way for everybody else from Hawaii to have that confidence. Yeah. But he was the original. You know, like leaving and going somewhere else and being successful somewhere else, that can be daunting. You know, that can be daunting even in the sense of coming home and everybody's like, you know, whatever. Yeah. You know, but he just totally, he was so strong and so animal without having to act strong and act animal. You know? Yeah. I don't know how else to put that, but his grace.
I know what you mean.
You know, he's graceful in his amazingness. Yeah,
that's such a good lesson for us Hawaiians, for us locals here who are maybe afraid to leave because they're so comfortable here, or maybe they're afraid of how they might be treated when they go other places, or you know what, if they'll like the place that they're gonna go off, like say you're going off to college. But like Duke did it, you know, they all said nana ike kumu, like look at the source, you know, if you're always struggling to like make a decision, just look at our ancestors, look at what they did, you know,
including our monarchy.
Yeah, like look at like the people, look at Duke Kahanamoku, you know, King Kamehameha, like Queen Liliuokalani, all them, you know, a lot of our monarchs that traveled abroad came back and shared that knowledge with everybody.
Innovation,
perfect,
growth.
Yeah, perfect examples.
Always forward thinkers, never afraid of growth and change.
Fearlessness, I think that's one of the main Hawaiian traits that we can have. So like when I hear you talk about Duke, I'm like, that's a Hawaiian.
Yeah.
That if you want to be Hawaiian, that is something that you need to have.
And it's a toughness that isn't about like being loud or
it's not bravado. It's just
not bravado.
It's just
it's real strength. It's real confidence. You know?
Yeah.
That's what he exudes. It's amazing. Like
it's awesome.
He could have definitely been like, nah, no, he all out. He went for it.
Yeah.
I really wish I could have met him.
Yeah.
You know, I would take that opportunity to go back in time, and that would be something I think I would do. Of all the things
if you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, it would be Duke.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes,
awesome.
It would be.
That's super cool. Okay. This next question comes from Sierra Tempura. She wants to know, how do you balance protecting your boundaries and sharing aloha? That has to be pretty challenging.
It is really challenging. I'd be out there around the world or even here, and people go, "Where's your aloha?" And I'm like, "What?" Oh man, I want to lose it, you know. So I take a deep breath and I have a conversation with them. You know, it's really funny what people's perception of aloha is versus what it actually means here. And how do I find the boundaries? Well, I actually am very open at first. You know, I give people that chance. But if they are not reciprocating, I definitely don't keep offering the same part of me, you know? And I don't just walk around with it, sort of say, where it's just like a business card or something, trying to hand it out or whatever. But it's because I also want people, I want to feel their energy first too, you know? So when people come at me and have a really good energy, I observe that and I try to reciprocate that, you know? And sometimes people are way too nice, and then that's a red flag too, you know? What's going on? Some people are just generally really nice. But it's like, I think it's just like a constant, everything's different. Every person's different. Every experience is different. So, you know, I've gotten it wrong too, I guess, you know, or I meet people and I don't know why they want to be nice. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of busy. And then as I get to know them better, I'm like, oh man, that one I read wrong, you know, this is a good person. So, as far as boundaries though, I don't know how to look at that. I think my check and balance at the end of the day is that if I should treat my family and the people closest to me better than I treat strangers. You know, and so if I am not doing what I should be doing at home, then that's where I have to rethink what I'm doing. I don't even know if that answers the question, but it brings me to that. You know, is keeping it for the people who deserve it.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes we treat strangers nicer than the people closest to us. It's like we're meaner, you know, to our siblings. We're more short-tempered, more honest. Yeah.
And I don't feel that that's appropriate. I don't like having that as a norm. I try to be conscious about that.
Yeah, I find myself doing that a lot too, because like, say I'm talking to a stranger or somebody I'm not as close with, like just having a conversation, I'm way more attentive, like really trying to, be engaged in the conversation. Sometimes when I go back to Hilo and visit with my family, like my parents, they're talking to me, I'm just like, yeah, oh yeah, cool, yeah, like that, you know what I mean?
Be conscious, right? You gotta be conscious, and
yeah. So it is weird. We gotta keep ourselves in check. Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Dane Arakawa. He wants to know, how do you prepare to play Duke Kahanamoku in Waterman?
I did a reenactment in 2015 in Australia, where we celebrated Australia's 100th anniversary of Duke bringing surfing to freshwater, and teaching Isabel Latham and oh yeah, I'm gonna forget his name right now. These two people how to surf. But what that did was, kind of gave me the first opportunities to try and look at what I did and didn't know about Duke. So even in that, they brought a replica board that Duke had made in Australia, and they brought it to try. So even that one, there's a bunch of people auditioning, and I told my wife I'm not going, and she's like, "You're going." So it happened to be during Duke's Fest, and my daughter was with me. So I was like, "Come, sweetheart, come with me. We're gonna do something." So I took the board out, caught a bunch of waves, and then I was like, "Hop on." And I told my daughter, Pua, jump on with me, and I took her out, and I did tandem on the board. Yeah. And that just blew everybody's brains out, because they didn't think that Duke actually did tandem with Isabel. And I was like, no, guaranteed did. Yeah. And
this is on like a 10-0?
No, this one's like an 8-9.
Oh, an 8-9. Oh, so what was it? Wow.
Yeah, that's what he ended up making down there. It was like an 8-9.
Oh, okay.
And still like 100 pounds though. And so when I was done with that, well, at first too, I pick up the board and they're all like, "Oh, let me carry." I'm like, "Bro, I'm carrying my own board." But it made me think, like, "Oh, am I carrying it right?" So I did what I did, and then later I looked and I carried it exactly how he would carry it. And it was because what I realized was everything I learned at Makaha to carry big boards is from that.
That era.
Yeah, it's all from that, from Uncle Buff all the way, And so I was like, "Hey, I got that one right," So it's like, oh. And then just looking at some photos and trying to understand, just body language and so forth. So like, there's swimming scenes I do for Duke, and there has to be no flipping. Because he didn't flip at first. There's growth even in his swimming. He was breaking records without any real training.
Yeah, the flip as in when you're changing directions.
Yeah, right. So there's like, it's funny that he was that fast before he had any like real practices. It was just all from surfing, losing his board or whatever.
Natural talent.
Yeah.
That's when I swim the fastest, is when I lose my board.
Well, and I thought about it, and I thought about his advantage was all the swimming he had done was enjoyed, versus the people he was competing against were all training in pools. That was just workouts. It's such a different mindset, on how to be a good swimmer. Because I swam competitively, I hated it. That was like going back and forth in a pool. I was over that. Yeah, but that's what gave me my good stroke for the show. I still held my stroke from when I was like 10 when I learned it.
Did you have to do any training for it? Like physical training?
No.
It's easy because it's like
they're lucky, bro. Yeah. They're lucky because they shot all the surfing in one day. I was tripping. And
that must be pretty awesome though. You just get paid. I mean, you have been paid for surfing, but paid to be like, let's just surf, like in those scenes, right?
Yeah, I didn't get paid that much. This was a documentary in my head, and I didn't care about the money. Yeah, like I don't get residuals or nothing. Yeah, no, but it was more like just doing it right. As if it's
out of respect.
Yeah, purely. And but just seeing the way the body language was, and I noticed one thing, like I think they paddled double-handed more often than I did single-hand paddling.
Like this?
Yeah.
Huh.
And so maybe that's one part that I didn't catch. But I literally only did one day.
Yeah.
You know, like, and what we did is we changed outfits constantly and made it look like Australia, California, Waikiki, and just made it look like all these different places. And they were really good about banging it out.
Yeah.
Just a couple of ways for each outfit.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I would Google stuff. Hey, I got the body language, you know? Get a picture of him on the stand for a swimming race or something. Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question comes from Finn_catcher. He wants to know, did the movie open up any opportunities for future movies?
I don't know.
Still kind of early.
We're still early. We're still premiering in New Zealand and Australia this weekend.
Is that something you're open to?
Yeah, sure.
Have you done much acting?
No, I've done a bunch of surf movies, through my career. And that's just being me. I would. I'm actually getting my kids into it. It's like at first it was like movies, but it's like the opportunity's there. Why not?
Yeah.
Don't turn away opportunity. That's like the worst thing you can ever do.
Yes.
And that came out of just like that trauma. That came out of just being like, selling out, all these preset notions. And the truth is, no, it's opportunity. Don't ever neglect to take advantage of opportunity.
I agree. Yeah. I'm happy you brought that up. Awesome. Last question comes from JC Shima. He wants to know, who are some of the inspirations that inspired you to become the waterman you are?
Wow. Yeah. I always got to start off with my parents, my mom with my swimming, my dad with my surfing. And then that goes into Uncle Bruce and Auntie McGee, them taking me every day. And then I'm surrounded at Makaha by Teddy Bear Davis, Mel Pu'u, Warren Ho Uli, Auntie Relsan, Auntie Puamokuau, Auntie Kathy Buford, Uncle Buff, Brian, Rusty, Jimmy, Keolana. And then the younger, there's younger generations. I mean, I was surrounded by
greatness,
like amazingness. And they were surfing, body surfing, canoe surfing, bodyboarding, paddleboarding, diving, fishing, everything, And we were not from a rich community by any means, but we were the wealthiest community in ocean sports by far. And I got this analogy over the last few years in my head that shows that, it's like, where do you find 4-man canoes in clusters, like where there's community? And I can only think of 2 places that really have community of 4-mans: Outrigger Canoe Club and Makaha. And that is our privilege.
Yeah.
Really, to have access to that kind of equipment in more than just like a random one-off, There's like, I don't know how many 4-mans sitting off Outrigger, moored right there. Then we have all our local families who have 4-mans. And that to me was like, that is a sign of privilege. And that is our privilege, that access to the ocean.
That's awesome. Yeah. I don't think I've ever lived anywhere where I was like right on the beach or like that close to the beach. I mean, here in Hawaii, I guess everywhere is kind of close, relatively close.
Relative.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an example. Like starting Nakamakai was a reflection back on, I grew up at Makaha, but 99% of the kids in my school didn't go to Makaha. I did go to Makaha Beach. I had access to that beach at the way I did, but not everybody else. So that was also like a spark of like, holy moly, we all were in that same situation, but we all didn't get to take advantage of it. That was also a privilege, Yeah.
It's like everybody has or is in the same location, but doesn't have the same opportunities.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's just because they didn't have the mom or dad or uncle. So that's why it's like Nakamakai is the uncles and aunties.
So you guys would pick up kids or like drive?
We go to locations around the island in order to bring services closer. and it's all free. We're making sure that access, right?
Yeah.
Opportunities there.
That's awesome.
Try our best.
Yeah. And you've been doing it for how many years?
Since 2008.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I gotta. Do you guys have volunteer events?
Yeah. Totally.
Like
Every event has choke volunteers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I gotta come check it out.
Yeah. We run every second Sunday of the month. We run a free ocean clinic somewhere in one of the 6 mokus. So every year we visit each moku twice. We just keep going around and around. And then now we have after school programming out of our halau. We have a 1-acre lot on Poka'i Bay.
Oh, wow.
That we offer after school care, mentorship, free food, homework assistance and mentoring, ocean activities.
It's a good surf spot.
There's rest camp right there. Yeah.
I've been there one time.
Yeah. So, like the idea of putting in daily programming around the ocean has finally been realized.
Yeah, awesome. And you were part of the or are part of the Junior Lifeguard Association. You guys would help with that, putting that on.
So many years ago, the city and county pulled out of the junior lifeguards.
So they don't have that anymore.
There was a budget issue. So 2 years in a row, Nakamakai, Kama'aina Kids, and Hawaii Lifeguard Association ran Oahu's junior lifeguards.
Okay.
And then funding came back in, and then we took a step back, and then COVID came, and then it again had a funding issue. So I hope that they can pull it together. It's complicated. It's really ironic that our junior lifeguard programming is struggling so much to find funding to get support from the county. When you go to California, junior lifeguards is an amazing program, making tons of money. Australia, same. But our motto is to give it away for free. Yeah. So there's also that challenge because we have a different way of doing it.
Well, you just need funding.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I just saw they released the Governor Ige's surplus after it's like billions.
He never used.
Billions he didn't use. How come some of that just couldn't go to something as small as that?
I mean, we can get real ugly right now.
Hey, you can say whatever you want, but I saw that. I'm like,
well, what are your priorities? And that's where you put your money. So all of where he put his money was his priorities. Crazy. And that's for me the problem with not having people who represent everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So let me I just want to say thank you to everybody for leaving the Instagram questions. Make sure you leave some for the next guest, and maybe a question will make it on the podcast. But yeah, these issues, and then that goes into housing too, and that goes into other deep-seated Native Hawaiian issues as well. And I mean, the junior lifeguard is not just a Native Hawaiian issue, but it's a local people issue. And that's the saddest part about, our elected officials. There's not enough representation of somebody that, just like you and me, in a position of power. I mean, now we have Josh Green. I don't want to say anything bad about him. I don't know him personally as a person, but it's like, man, we got a guy from New Jersey. I don't know where is he from. Leading our.
I thought he was from Big Island.
No, he lives on Big Island.
Oh,
but I think he's from somewhere else. I don't know. I think he's probably one of the ones that lived here for 20 years. That
yeah, right.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I've seen.
Interesting.
But yeah, not saying that he can't do any good. There's a lot of people who are doing good, but stuff like with Ige, $1 billion worth of surplus that could have gone to support these local communities.
Yeah,
something as small as junior lifeguard.
Yeah,
and that just wasn't maybe.
Being around a lot of it, there's just so much layers and so much. It's like unless you're in the fire too, you don't realize how much is going on. So I get it.
Yeah.
But for us to keep underfunding and underutilizing some of our most valuable assets, such as the ocean, such as surfing, such as the cultural awesomeness that we've been sharing with the world, but we can't get our stuff together here. It's crazy, It's really holding back our athletes in the same time too, But if you look at it, there's a huge missing component, and it's really because we're very focused on being Americans, So baseball, football, all of that is a distraction from being ocean-minded. So a lot of our local people have all these backgrounds in all these sports. So they're not as focused on making surfing that priority.
Yeah.
You know? But my thing is surfing should be our number one priority. It's a cultural asset. It's something that we gave the entire world enjoys it. And California, Australia are telling our story better than we're telling our story. And we need to reclaim that back. We got to stop letting people tell our story because they're telling it from their perspective and they're going to lean towards themselves.
Yeah.
You know, oh, the first guy to invent this and the first guy to surf here and it's all fake history. You know, it all came from sources here. And then we aren't adopting that entitlement that they have towards it. But they are like, it's a national sport in Australia. Literally. You know, it's one of the most popular sports in California. They have college scholarships. 20 years ago, they had surf PE in high school already. And we can't get that together, you know? Yeah. So I just feel like we're still kind of stuck in the drug addict, lazy surfer, you know, stereotype when it's not true. Human beings are drug addicts. Human beings are lazy. It's nothing to do with surfing, you know? Yeah. And don't stigmatize surfing like that because surfing is amazing. It's made amazing careers for people. It's put food on the table for some of us, you know, and it's a real professional sport. And it's also an amazing cultural asset. And if we don't change our mindset on it, it's going to take even longer for us to tell our story better. Yeah.
I love that. I love that you brought that up. I totally agree. Like you said, I think because of how westernized we've become and how much we were affected by the overthrow, maybe, you know, it's just like we've kind of just overlooked surfing. I mean, my life, I've never grew up surfing. I wasn't around the water that much. I grew up playing soccer and football. A perfect example of that. Yeah. Surfing was never on my radar, something that I should be doing.
But there's a certain complacency that comes in our community by saying one word, mainland. No, I live in the mainland. This is my mainland. That's not the mainland. Yeah. That's the continent to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the way we have been trained to use that word has subjugated us, has brought us down and raises them up. And by not using that word anymore, shifts that in its own way, shifts that imbalance, you know, and we got to catch these things that we're so used to saying in our daily routines that actually subjugate ourselves. And that's not the mainland. Never will be. I've discovered this summer, because I went so many times for surf contests with my kids, that I figured out what I feel. I'm in a foreign country. Yeah. And it's simple. It was so much simpler after that. Yeah. They don't share the values I share, being from here. They don't share the lifestyle, the values. None of it is aligned. Some people, somewhat, you know.
There's some overlap.
But that is not where I'm from. You know, and so my mainland is right here.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've lived abroad and I talk to other people who live on the continent and they don't even call it the mainland. They just said the States or other, and they rarely say the mainland. And it's funny because maybe that's just how we were trained. Yeah. It's just like,
this but other places I've been trained like that, I noticed that too. It's a colonial thing. Yeah. So like in Puerto Rico, they call it the mainland. Why? You live in Puerto Rico, bro. You're not from over there. You know, but if you were from there, you would want to call it that. You would want to elevate it. Yeah. You know, and we got caught in that. And there's a lot of verbiage that we use today that does that. Yeah.
Stuff that we just don't think about because it's so ingrained in our everyday lives. Yeah. That it's like we're almost brainwashed.
It is brainwashed, but it's also just so normalized.
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes kind of like a lot to take yourself back to actually see it. Yeah. It has to be triggered somehow. You know?
Yeah. And it's hard to just stop what you've been doing your whole entire life. Like I've been saying mainland my entire life.
Me too.
Yeah, all of us, right?
It took a conscious moment, you know?
Yeah.
And then what makes me sad is when people think of it as like an insult to somebody. And I was like, no, I don't have to follow that suit. I have the right to call it whatever I want to call it.
Yeah.
And this is my home, my mainland.
Yeah.
I want to build this place up, you know?
Yeah. This is our mainland.
This is it.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. What, so there's so many debates and conversations that we can have over, you know, what is local, what is Hawaiian, what is right, what is wrong, how should we be living, all these stuff, whether blood quantum's a thing, blood quantum isn't, if we can, you know, if you're Hawaiian, like, does that give you the right to, you know, does your word carry more weight because you're 10% Hawaiian, 5% Hawaiian over somebody who's 0% Hawaiian, or because you're 50% Hawaiian, does that just, you know, whatever you say goes, you know? So what are your thoughts about, you know, just like people growing up here as like I'm sure the West Side has so many people who like at least for me, this is just my opinion. I see like people in Makaha as like that. Those are some Hawaiians right there.
Roots, yeah.
Those are some rooted Kanakas.
Good family lines there.
Good, like, man, I wish I had my last name was like theirs, right?
Yeah.
And then there's people who are just like very diluted, like they're Hawaiian, they grew up in town, maybe go to certain schools, and they don't really grow up with the culture like that. But maybe they're more Hawaiian than some people that live that Hawaiian lifestyle. Yeah.
Well, the irony is it's not their fault. First of all, having been disconnected has nothing to do with something they did. Yeah,
especially the people living away
and whatever, you know, and it's super simple for me. Kuleana. What is it? What is your Kuleana? You know, and how do you do your Kuleana every day? That to me is what I think our monarchy was after. Is that they were recognizing the value of actually wanting to, number one, care for the Aina, and number two, care for the people. It wasn't based on anything else. And through those two factors, all decisions could be made pono. You know, economically, capitalism, whatever. But it was founded in Aina and people. At least I think so. At least that's how I feel and how I've been raised to, and I've held it kind of probably a little bit closer to, I have to do this way. I want to do it this way. I want to think this way. Because the more I do my Kuleana, the more I teach my kids Kuleana, I can actually see impact, you know, where it's not just surviving anymore. We're actually thriving as a family. We're actually doing things and going outside of just surviving. And that's because with our Kuleana is first taking care of self, second taking care of community, Aina, you know, and so forth. And seeing things in a lens that is inclusive in their success is my success, their failure is my failures. So like in my community, we have a houseless issue that is extraordinary. You know, they would not allow their community, anywhere else on this island, you don't have a community that has tents everywhere on every beach like we do. You know, and you can say there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's lazy, there's this and that, but they've been totally stretched thin. And the prices of housing, the prices of rent are just like going through the roof. So many people moving here to take our jobs. So many people moving here that needs to find a house. You know, so our guys are moving away or ending up in a less fortunate situation, being houseless. And I see that as, okay, I always look at it, what can I do? I'm trying to find that answer. You know, like part of that answer to me is Nakamakai, is getting those keiki to my programming and influencing them in life and giving them options in life that vary from what they have in their normal circles. But I don't stop there mentally. I'm still trying to look at it and see like, what is an impactful thing to do about this? You know, Do I get mad at everybody and be like, why are you in the bathroom? Why are you on our beaches? Why are you making everything ugly? Every now and then I get upset, at 2 a.m, this chronic bounces on the freeway or right in front of me, the highway, and it's like, there's no cars. Why'd you just do that? And there's these random scary moments, like people with their feet in the road, sleeping on the sidewalk that you didn't see. Like, you're like, what is going on? I didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
It's super different than when I was a kid. And you're going, okay, so what do we do? And I think we got to come to terms with kind of being honest with ourselves about some of the things that, yes, the trauma's there, but we also are allowing certain things to happen that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Like the ice epidemic and certain other, like crack. These two drugs are so much more harmful than other drugs. And we gotta be honest with ourselves that the dealers need to stop. Stuff like that. Do I want to step in front of them and tell them? That's scary.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that they're unconsciously thriving on other people's failures. I listened to one guy talk on the beach one day. It blows my mind. Oh yeah, let them have fentanyl. Then all the dummies die. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wow. Okay. But they're not in that situation because there isn't trauma. They're there because of the trauma. This is happening as a cycle.
Yeah.
So I do want to find a way that we can break these cycles. The children are the answer.
Yeah, you gotta start.
Yeah.
Some
of the parents might be impossible, but we gotta definitely, as a community, we gotta protect the children better. And it's gonna hurt to protect them sometimes. It's going to be the hard path to protect the kids sometimes, but we cannot keep sweeping it under the carpet, whether it's that or even the violence, some of the stuff that happens. So I don't know the answer. I do know that I'm always wanting to try and find a way to be supportive of a better community, and I do not judge my houseless counterparts on the West Side by any means. It's very unfortunate to have a job and work your butt off and still be in that situation. That is not something that was by accident, and as far as how things have been laid out here.
Yeah.
But Kuleana.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah. No, and at the end of the day, it's Kuleana. And priority. What are you gonna make a priority in your life? What do you feel drawn to, you feel like is your responsibility, regardless of if you're from here, you're born on the continent, you live here now. What is your Kuleana to Hawaii? Because this is your home. If you call this place your home, you have some sort of Kuleana.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think that we should advocate that it's expected. If you're a newcomer.
It's not optional.
Not optional. Part of it is watching watermen. Watch watermen. See how you feel about the house you bought.
Yeah, I've had people tell me that after watching that, they said, what is the meaning of Aloha? It's Duke. Duke is the meaning of Aloha. Like, he embodied Aloha. Yeah. What does Aloha mean to you?
Wow. I think Aloha is to me just, that's kind of a complicated thing to explain, I guess. But I mean, for me, like how I think about Aina and the ocean, that's how I aloha. How I think about my community, my Waianae Makaha community. How I want to actually be a contributor. Every morning I wake up, I want to contribute. I mean, I think that's aloha. Having a commitment, a dedication to other than myself. And having I guess like a respect and a care for this place that is fully by my own will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my aloha. That's why when someone asks me, where's my aloha? It's like, you don't know me.
Yeah.
Where's yours? You know,
Yeah.
like right back at you.
And it's all different. People have a different definition of aloha.
Yeah. You know, I treat people with aloha. I don't treat people like I owe them something, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So.
Sounds like your aloha is based off community, off of, you know, putting others before yourself.
For sure. And it's because of my coming to terms with everything I have is because of my community.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have or done what I've done without being from Makaha.
Yeah.
Without being a DeSoto.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I look at my family members and I value them. You know,
mm-hmm.
I value my community. I want to be there,
mm-hmm.
good and bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Awesome. Okay. We're getting towards the end of the podcast, but one thing that I like to ask some of my guests, because like I mentioned the Hawaiian blood quantum stuff, like to you, in your definition, how you see it, what does it mean to be a Hawaiian, whether that's blood or not?
What does that mean to be Hawaiian? In the way I was raised was to honor kupuna. Period. You know, if you base yourself in the knowing that your kupuna are with you, supporting you, always there by your side, but also watching you, you know, it keeps you in a perspective of that Kuleana again, you know, and I feel like that is the very essence of why we would have a better next 7 generations, because we are channeling that ike, that knowledge, that ano, the feelings, and making it continuum, you know, and giving that to our babies. And to me, that part is what I get from my family as being Hawaiian.
Nice. I like that. It's a continuous cycle.
It's a flow of energy.
Yeah.
It's a flow. You know, and
yeah, I love that. Okay. What is some advice for someone who wants to start surfing or become a waterman or woman?
Oh yeah. So to be a waterman or a water woman, of course you have to love the ocean, number one. And then you have to be multidimensional in the ocean. If you're one-dimensional, you're actually just a shortboarder or a longboarder or a whatever, you know, or a sailor. To be a waterman is to embrace all forms of being on the ocean, diving, surfing, sailing, paddling, and really just not being afraid to not be the best at it. Because I think that's what keeps people in their genre and whatever they love, is because they've actually gotten to a certain level and they feel safe. But it's okay to go and do other parts of the ocean that you aren't the best at and grow your skills, because it will complement the other parts of your ocean prowess.
That's the hardest thing about doing things as an adult, is that you've had success, you know, hopefully, in a lot of things in life, a lot of endeavors, whether that's a certain sport or a career. So trying to do something that you are a beginner at, you're an amateur, it's hard to get to the, you know, that point, or kind of like put your pride aside, like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to be bad at it. And that's like the hard thing about starting with surfing, is like you have to go through that social pressure of like, I'm an adult, especially if you look Hawaiian or you look local, and people are seeing you like, oh, this person can probably surf, and they see you stand up on the board and they're like, that person cannot surf.
And that's okay. well, that's where, when you see somebody who kind of surf good, how did you judge them? You're really afraid of your own judging of yourself. And I think like being a waterman from Makaha, that's why I was able to say one day, I'm going to start a nonprofit. And then someone asked me, "Oh, you have a 501c3?" And I was like, I didn't even know what that meant.
But what letter number?
Yeah, I was like, wait, no, I want to do a nonprofit, like community based. And in my mind, what it meant, like, oh, so you have a 501c3? I was like, oh, I gotta look this up.
Is that algebra?
But not knowing all of that didn't mean I didn't have the right purpose in mind. But then I was like, oh, I got some stuff to learn, and
but you weren't afraid.
Nope.
Yeah.
I knew that the intention was right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I didn't have to worry after that.
Yeah, that's all it takes. What is one thing you can't live without?
My wife.
Shout out to you.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, she does a million things too, right? She has like 10,000 businesses.
Yeah.
I think I lost count. How many? What is it?
I think she has at least 5 or 6 businesses. Yeah. No, but you know what? I mean, yeah. I found somebody that's my soulmate. I found somebody that I want to see every day, be with every day. And I think I'm lucky that I have that,
Wow.
And we share in trying to raise amazing humans. We want our children to be good people, but we also want them to be, uber successful, carry their culture with them, but also not be restricted by anybody else's views of what that means. So it's like, it's funny because, they still get raised in the chaos, right? Amongst what we also tried to raise them in. And so it's still all kinds of different challenges. And I cannot live without my wife.
Awesome.
Like
Well, what are you
I could give up anything.
Yeah, just not her.
Yeah.
So what are you most proud of going off of that?
I'm most proud of my children. I think that if there's anything that I actually did or committed to doing is that I had these human beings, these offsprings of my wife's genealogy and my genealogy, her thinking, my thinking, and look so forward to seeing them blossom and turn into what they're meant to be. Because I think that they're going to be contributors just by the way we raise them. They're gonna have a desire to contribute. Yeah. So that is very fulfilling in its own way, Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, your daughters are killing it. I mean, 9-time national champion?
Something like that. 7.
Again, I lost track of how many.
She just qualified for.
Yeah, she's supposed to be on the podcast.
Challenger next year.
Yeah.
She just yesterday got the wild card into Hawaiʻi Challenger this year.
Yeah, and what, 17 only?
She's invited to Pipe Masters this year, 17.
It's crazy.
She's killing it.
Yeah. I think when she comes on, she'll be the youngest guest we've had on the podcast.
And she's on a roll at school.
Yeah.
All straight A's, honor classes. She's killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's having fun. I think she's having fun. We gotta shake her up every now and then. But she's having fun.
Yeah. And I like how you and your wife raise your kids in Aloha in Hawaiian values as well.
And that's a big homage to my grandma Frenchia. She had the 1978 Con signed, which passed the law that legalized Hawaiian language again. Wow. It wasn't the only moment that made the language revive, but it is one of the beginning points where Punana could pick up the ball and run with as well. My
preschool right there, so I thank her.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's interesting. Yeah, that's why it's like, I in some ways honestly feel like my wife is like my grandma Frenchie, ironically. Just really motivated in the culture and very smart to all that's going on in it. Yeah. The politics and stuff.
Awesome.
So I love it. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like doing good things.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the end.
I'm sure you and your family are going to keep doing amazing things, and me and everybody else, we're just going to keep being impressed.
Yeah, but I think that that's the thing, is like, it's influence. what can be done, you know, and we don't know too. So we're discovering as we go. And I think that opens the door for the next family or next generation to be like, oh, I can, because it's been done. So we're all building off of others' successes like that, you know, whether it's
inspiring,
whether it's our Duke Kahanamokus or Rail Sons or even guys like Jason Momoa, you know, it's like those successes mean that we can all do the same thing if we want to, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay, what is something you wish people knew about you that they don't?
Oh. I don't know. What do I wish that they knew about me that they don't?
Maybe you can ask your wife.
I know. She's on the phone.
Yeah.
Right, messaging me again. Crazy. I don't know. If they don't know, I guess it's just how much I care about community, and which I think some people know. But this place is so precious. It's irreplaceable. So if we don't act swiftly, not to conserve, but to revitalize, you know, to replenish.
Yeah, I think what you said earlier, we're not just trying to survive, we're trying to thrive.
Yeah. So I don't want to conserve a damaged aina that has been damaged for over 100, 150 years. You know, I want to restore it. I want to revitalize it. I want to hand down a place to my grandson and my future grandchildren, a place that I'm proud to hand down. You know, that's one of my biggest motivations.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we're coming to the end, and before we finish, I gotta know, what is your life hack?
My life hack.
Gotta think of a good one. It's the most important part of the podcast.
I guess you told me to think about this. I'm not really good at like pre-planning stuff. I'd say, like, just to be honest, I think my life hack is being willing to work hard and not afraid of hard work.
I got you. Mai maka'ui kahana, maka'ui ka moloa. Do you know that Hawaiian proverb?
No.
It's don't be afraid of work, be afraid of laziness.
Oh yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah.
I have heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, that's what I live by. You know, you can't do that forever though. Unfortunately, as you get older. But that's why you gotta also do it when you can.
Especially when you're young. Yeah, you got the time, energy.
10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old. It's never too early to start.
Yeah.
You know, don't wait till you're 18 because you just wasted 6 years. Don't wait till you're 30 because you just wasted another 12. So it's like that, you know. Don't be complacent. Don't sit there and think you can do it later.
Do it now.
When you think about it, do it now. Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's a good one. All right, so I got last 5 questions, just rapid fire answers. Okay. Favorite surfboard.
Favorite surfboard.
Yeah. Favorite thing to surf.
All right. My longboard.
Well, what's the dimensions?
9'1", 22 wide, like a 13 tail, 18 nose. Can pretty much ride that board anywhere in the world. Big tail po'o, Poro Escondido, 2 feet Waikiki.
How heavy is it?
Yeah, it's lightweight.
Oh, okay.
You know, of course, there's a better version for a pipe. But I could ride a pipe. You could. But it's like if I had to do one board, That's the most comfortable I feel in all conditions.
Awesome. Okay. Favorite thing to snack on?
Favorite snack? You know, not the biggest snacker. I do enjoy getting my fresh lilikoi out of my yard.
Ooh, nice. And you just pick them and eat them right there.
Yeah, bite them in.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. Favorite thing to do without the kids?
Favorite thing to do without the kids? Take my wife out.
Mm-hmm. Where do you guys go?
We're kind of bougie. We go to this nice restaurant in Four Seasons.
Nice. Hey, you gotta treat yourself.
Yeah, or we go Outer Island.
Mm-hmm.
Take, staycations.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Not afraid to go and just be together
Mm-hmm.
and ditch the kids.
Awesome. They're old enough now where they can take care of themselves too, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The 3-year-old has a different idea about that.
It's funny. They'll understand when they get older. Favorite sport besides surfing?
My favorite sport besides surfing? I love to go and dirt bike in Kahuku.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. My family actually has a deep history in motocross.
I feel like that for some reason a lot of people surf dirt bike as well. And
They do?
They don't. I don't feel like they're super related.
Well, one of the things is the main track is in Kahuku, so that helps, right?
I guess because my friends at dirt bike, they live Wailu'a.
Yeah, a lot of places. Yeah, from Wailua, Mililani.
Yeah.
But my grandfather was the guy who carved Kahuku.
Wow.
Him and his friends on Harleys with knobby tires. And my grandma Frenchie opened it up to racing.
Oh, okay.
So
that's
that was
part of your family history, yeah.
My Uncle John's the original Flying Hawaiian.
No way. Oh, that's super cool.
When I would travel around the world, they'd be like, "Who's John DeSoto to you?" And I'm like, "I didn't know him."
Uncle?
I'd be in France, Tahiti, and they're like, "Oh, it's my uncle." Oh my God, I'm a fan. I didn't even know he was famous, I knew he was Hawaii famous, but I didn't know he was world famous.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite local restaurant on the west side?
On the west side?
Yeah. So someplace we gotta stop when we go over there.
Oh, there's a couple of good ones though.
Drop them off. I need some suggestions.
Yeah.
If I ever support
I love going to 604.
604.
It's a restaurant right on Poka'ibe at Rest Camp.
Oh, okay.
Brother Donovan and it's right on the water. It's pretty much the best view on the restaurant scene. And I don't know. We got some. What is it?
What about that Kalo Bomb place? Is that over there in Waianae?
Kalo bombs, bro. My kids love.
I never eaten there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is actually really good.
That's like sugar crack, bro. That's crazy. It's so good. Definitely. You never knew Kalo could taste so good. No, that's a good one. Yeah. Even right there, there's a restaurant right there. There's a few, I don't know. But I would say like 604 is just that full, perfect everything.
Oh, okay.
Have a drink, sit by the water, have really good food.
What is that Chinese restaurant that's like right off the side of the road when you're going, I think, towards, I don't know where, like, going towards Yokohama.
There's one called One Chinese.
I think maybe that's the one. They get choke food. Is that the one you can barely even close the plate?
Yeah, but I go to Barbecue Kai a lot, actually.
Okay.
Because they take cash only, that's the only problem, but massive plates too, and the quality is still there.
Oh, okay. I gotta go check them out.
Barbecue Kai is a definite stop at. Wow, you're making me go into it now. Then there's the Shave Ice place right at the old Cornets building, right in Makaha. I think it's Mountain Shave Ice.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. I never tried it.
Super.
Mountain Magic or Mountain.
Yeah, Mountain Magic.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know the name. I just go. My kids love it.
Okay.
That one. There's a new sandwich spot right next to that too. That's super good. Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's awesome, man. Next time I go over there, I gotta go check those places out. I think I've surfed Makaha one time in my life.
Oh yeah.
But I like going left. It's just a right.
I'll tell you a Makaha hack offline.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. All right, well, let's wrap this up then so I can know that the Makaha. But we are at the end of the podcast, and I just want to say mahalo for coming on and talking stories. Do you have anything else you want to share? Where can we find you? What's your socials?
Oh, Duane DeSoto on Instagram. Check out Nakamakai, nakamakai.org. See the amazing things we're doing with children. Bring your children to our programs. Support our programs because we absolutely don't charge our children a penny. So we're always looking for funders to support all the keiki access that we provide. And, look up my keiki, my wife, what they're doing. They're doing amazing things. My wife's company, DTL Hawaii, is doing amazing things. Aloha Modern. My daughter, Pua Makamai on IG. It's Pua Monkey Mai. Mm-hmm. Kalano Veil. These guys, there's so much going on. But Anu Hawaii with my daughter's bikinis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you start Googling DeSoto, these things will pop up.
Yeah. Follow the whole family.
Yeah.
All 56 of them.
The only person I couldn't get DeSoto was my wife. She kept Ka'aihui. She's like, if I'm going to put a PhD after it, it's going to be Ka'aihui. I'm like, ugh. Okay. I get you.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. All right. Well, mahalo so much. Do you have any last final words you want to share with the audience?
Love Hawaii like it's potential to disappear again. Mm-hmm. Love it like it could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
If we're not careful, we could lose a lot more of this place than we already have. So try to malama this place.
Yes. Malama ra'ina, malama ichara. It's malama. All right. Mahalo Duane for joining us on the Hawaiiverse podcast. Check us out on Hawaiiverse.com, the best place to support local. Spread aloha, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. New episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka, and you'll hear me next time on the Hawaiiverse podcast. Hui ho.